I just realized I forgot to turn off the air conditioning. We'll just pretend that that hasn't been happening. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm Amy. Today I am here to do a recommendation video for you guys. This is going to be my cozy autumn reads for you all. All of these books, for whatever reason, just make me think of fall and make me think these books would be perfect to read in the fall. So if you would like some recommendations that in my opinion are perfect books to have a cup of tea and a blanket and cozy up with a critter while you read, then go ahead and keep watching. The first book on my list is a little bit of a classic. I loved this book and read it when I was younger and really need to get around to rereading it again, and that is The Little Princess by Frances Hodgson Burnett. This is the story about a little girl who was at one point in time very, very wealthy and the little princess of the boarding school in which she is staying and being educated when her father loses all of his money and she is basically required to become a servant to pay off all of her debts. And it just is a very cozy read. It's about friendship, it's about hardship, it's about working through whatever's happening in your life, and it's a really, really great book, and I absolutely recommend it if you haven't read it, and even if you have read it, maybe it's time to pick it up again. The next two books are nonfiction for you guys, and these might be a little bit of a cheat, but I couldn't not include them, and they're both books about hygge, the first being The Cozy Life, Rediscover the Joy of the Simple Things Through the Danish Concept of Hygge by Pia Edberg. This is the story about a girl who is half Danish. To be honest, I don't remember what her mother is or where her mother is from, but what her mother is. Her mother's a person, that's what she is. But this is a very, very personal account, and it's very heartfelt and warming. My mom read this one, and then the next one I'm going to talk about, which is a very popular one, which is The Little Book of Hygge by Mike Viking. Whereas this one tends to be a little bit more scientific. Mike Viking is the CEO of the Happiness Research Institute in Copenhagen. Doesn't that sound terrible? Sounds terrible. So this is more of just her life and how her parents incorporated it in her life and how she uses it now. And this is how he does that as well, but there's a lot more science behind it and a lot more on the studies. So two different books about the same topic but accomplish different things, and I think both of these are great read. I would recommend both of them. They're both very quick, very short reads. They both include some I can talk, can't I? Some recipes in them, so go pick these up if you haven't read them. They're very, very good, and just, I mean, who doesn't want to learn how to be cozy while you're being cozy? I mean, that's what I did. The next book that I have for you is another classic. For some reason, to me, classics really elicit this feeling of like hunkering down and being cozy and reading. I just don't see myself reading a classic by the beach. I don't know. Let me know if you agree or not. But that is Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. I just recently read this book for the first time, and it really just seemed to me like a good book to read in the fall. And I don't know if that's because there's such a theme and the element of fire throughout this story. This is the story about a man who is a firefighter in the future in America, where their job is actually to burn books. They get rid of things with fire because everything is fireproof now. And I really recommend it. It's a very fascinating book that will make you think a ton, more than I was expecting, which I don't know why that is, because everybody, it seems like, that has read this book, and this is some required reading. At least I believe some of it was when I was in high school. I didn't have to read it, but some of my friends did. Anyway, really good book. I totally recommend it for the fall. And here is a little bit more of a novel for you guys, and that is Tell the Wolves I'm Home by Carol Rivka Brunt. This book is so very interesting, and it was originally what drew me into it was that cover. I mean, come on, guys, that cover is beautiful. And this is a story about a girl who's 14 years old named June who loses her uncle, who is also her best friend, of an illness that nobody really wants to talk about and is a bit of a mystery, especially to June, for a very long time. And when he dies, she meets a friend of his who is kind of just they're both trying to deal with the death of her uncle Finn. Yes, Finn, and he was a painter, and so there's this element of a painting throughout it. I'm beginning to realize I really like that theme, which is strange because I'm not an artsy person. But this book, I think, takes place in like the cusp of fall and winter. So I remember there being scenes with leaves, and there is this element of the woods. She goes into the woods a lot because that's a place that she just feels like she can be herself, because she doesn't really fit in with her friends, or excuse me, her friends at her school. And she no longer has a really great relationship with her sister, and everyone's trying to deal with the death of her uncle. And this book was very polarizing for me, that at some points I didn't always enjoy it, but by the end of it, and now that I've removed myself from it a little bit, I read this book a few months ago. I think I read it in July, maybe. I think I've grown to like it more. Originally, I gave it 3 out of 5 stars, and it probably still is there, but a higher 3 out of 5 stars, if that makes sense. But definitely pick this book up. I really enjoyed it, and I think I need to get my hands on more of Carol Wifka Brunt's books, if she's written any since then, because I know this was her debut novel. But another really beautiful book that I think is a perfect fall read. And I mean, I couldn't not include this book. I've talked about this book so many times on my channel, and I have no shame because I'm going to talk about it again. And that is A Tree Grows in Brooklyn by Betty Smith. This book just is fall to me, and that being said, it covers all the seasons, even when it's super hot in Brooklyn or really cold in the winter. But it's just a cozy read because it's all about Fanny growing up, and it's just really, or not Fanny, Francie. Hello, can you talk about your favorite book, Amy? Obviously not. But it's one of my favorite books. I've read it in the spring, I think, and it's just beautiful. Betty Smith's writing is just really to the point, and I wouldn't say blunt, but as close as you can be to blunt without actually being blunt, and I just find that really refreshing and beautiful. And this is a gorgeous coming-of-age story. We're gonna ignore my phone. And if you haven't read it, you really should read it. It's a beautiful book. I know it's a bigger book, but it reads really, really quickly. At least it did to me. It didn't feel like I had to wade through this giant book, and just it's beautiful. Not much of a plot. It's just about her growing up and her family and her parents and her mom and her friends and just living in Brooklyn. A beautiful story, and in my opinion, definitely a fall read. And then I have 2 children's books for you because I need to get back into that. I actually have some videos in the making that I'm planning on doing that will chat a little bit more about all the books I read as a preschool teacher. But the first is a bit of a, I guess you could say Halloween, but definitely fall. You could enjoy this at any time. This is the Room on the Broom book by Julia Donaldson and Axel Schaefer. This is a very fun rhyming story about a witch and her broom and them coming up with new companions, and it is a ton of fun. There is actually a Netflix cartoon of it now, which is wonderful, and it's just narrated. It literally took this and animated it, and if you haven't read it, it's a lot of fun. So definitely read that one. And then Night Song by, let's see here, the author's name isn't on the cover. Let me find it. Let's see. By Ari Burke and Lauren Long. And Lauren Long did write Otis. It's the book about the tractor. A very fun, very well-known children's book. I'll link it down below for you guys. But this is Night Song, and it's about a little bat who goes off all by himself for the first time and gets a little bit lost. And I love bats. Bats are one of my favorite animals. And the illustrations in this book are stunning, like absolutely stunning. I'm gonna try not to get the glare. It's very sunny outside right now. But it's a really, really gorgeous book. I highly recommend it. And it's just cozy and dark and just a perfect fall read. Have I said that enough times in this video? But there you have it, you guys. There are some cozy autumn recommendations for you all. Let me know what your recommendations are for me. I'm always looking to increase the length of my TBR. But thank you so much for watching, you guys. If you liked this video, please like it. And if you loved it, please subscribe. And we will see you in my next video. Happy reading.